In the summer of 1518, in the bustling, sun-baked streets of Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, now modern-day France, a woman stepped into the marketplace and began to dance. It wasn't a joyful jig, nor an elegant, courtly performance. It was frenetic, wild, and unceasing. Hours turned into days. She could not stop, and soon dozens of others joined her. Men, women, even children, all compelled to dance, unable to control their own bodies. Some danced until their feet bled. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Some, it is said, danced themselves to death. This was no festival gone awry, no coordinated act of protest or devotion. It was something stranger, more mysterious, and deeply frightening. It would be known to history as the Dancing Plague of 1518. Today, we journey back over 500 years to explore the circumstances surrounding one of the strangest and most chilling mass phenomena ever recorded. We will trace its origins, witness its tragic progression, and sift through the explanations, from poisoned bread to mass hysteria. Through contemporary reports, modern interpretations, and a careful reconstruction of the time, we seek to understand what happened to Strasbourg in 1518. Life in Strasbourg in the early 1500s was hard. The city, although prosperous, was burdened by famine, outbreaks of disease, and the looming specter of religious conflict. The people lived in fear of divine punishment, deeply superstitious, interpreting many misfortunes as signs of God's anger. Against this backdrop of hardship and anxiety, a single inexplicable event could quickly spiral into mass panic. Religious processions, flagellant movements, and mystical visions were not uncommon. Physical expressions of distress, whether self-flagellation or communal prayer marathons, were woven into the cultural fabric. In such an environment, the human mind and body were primed for extraordinary manifestations. The first dancer. It began with a woman named Frau Trophäa. According to a chronicle by physician Paracelsus, decades later, she simply walked into the streets and began to dance without music. She danced all day. Onlookers were bewildered, then alarmed, as she continued through the night, seemingly without food or rest. Witnesses described her as looking possessed, her limbs jerking uncontrollably. Attempts to restrain her failed. Local authorities, fearing divine displeasure or demonic influence, decided to let her dance, hoping it would burn out whatever afflicted her. Within a week, more than 30 people had joined her. Within a month, the number was estimated to be around 400. Contemporary records, including those from Strasbourg City Council, describe many poor folk dancing in the streets, their bodies writhing and trembling day and night. Some collapsed with broken ribs or from heart failure. At least a dozen deaths were recorded. The authorities sought explanations. Astrologers' charts were consulted. Physicians blamed hot blood overheating the body, recommending that sufferers dance it out as a cure. A stage was erected, and musicians were hired to keep the afflicted moving. A macabre miscalculation. Chronicles from the period vividly detail the horror. One Strasbourg chronicle noted, "The afflicted neither ate nor drank, but screamed and groaned as they moved. Their eyes were vacant and their faces pale with fear." Another witness, quoted in a city record, said, "We could see their limbs fail them, yet they did not cease. It was as if some spirit lashed them to motion." Such testimonies convey not only the physical toll, but also the terror, the spectacle inspired among onlookers. Fear rippled through the city like a second invisible contagion. Theories from then and now. At the time, the prevailing theories ranged from supernatural possession to astrological misalignment. Modern historians and medical experts have proposed a range of possible explanations. Some suggest ergotism, poisoning from a mold found on damp rye, which can cause hallucinations and convulsions. Others point to stress-induced mass psychogenic illness, what we might today call mass hysteria. Historian John Waller, among others, argues that the intense stress, hunger, and superstition created a perfect storm for a psychosomatic outbreak. The dancing was a physical manifestation of profound psychological distress. Though the printing press was still a relatively new technology, reports of the Strasbourg dancing spread rapidly throughout the region. Broadsheets and pamphlets carried the story far and wide, often with lurid embellishments. Some portrayed the dancers as sinners punished by God, others as innocent victims of malevolent forces. An illustrated woodcut from the period, now housed in the Strasbourg Municipal Archives, shows a line of anguished dancers, skeletoned and hollow-eyed, moving in a grotesque procession. Media portrayal turned real tragedy into spectacle, reinforcing the event's legendary status. In late August, as the death toll rose, the city council reversed its earlier stance. Public dancing was banned. Sufferers were herded into a shrine to Saint Vitus, the patron saint of dancers and epileptics, to seek divine intervention. There they were blessed, sprinkled with holy water, and prayed over. Miraculously, or perhaps because the communal ritual provided psychological release, the plague gradually subsided. By September, the streets of Strasbourg fell silent once more. The dancing plague of 1518 left a lasting scar on Strasbourg's collective memory. It fueled greater religious fervor and inspired local authorities to invest more heavily in public health and spiritual care. Yet, no definitive explanation was ever agreed upon. The event slipped gradually into folklore, referenced occasionally in theological and medical debates. In later centuries, the dancing plague became a symbol of inexplicable mass behavior, cited in studies of crowd psychology and sociogenic illness. It remains a chilling reminder of the thin line between order and chaos in human societies. The Strasbourg incident was not unique. Similar, if less deadly, outbreaks of compulsive dancing had occurred in the Middle Ages, notably in Aachen in 1374. Some historians link these episodes to the stresses of famine, war, and plague, which left communities psychologically primed for collective episodes of dissociation and self-harm. Yet, the Strasbourg outbreak remains the most famous and the most deadly of them all. Its scale, documentation, and sheer horror distinguish it from other examples of dancing mania. Today, the dancing plague is the subject of novels, songs, and scholarly debates. It continues to capture the imagination precisely because it defies easy explanation. In an age where science seeks answers for every phenomenon, the image of hundreds of people dancing themselves to death in the streets of a medieval city remains haunting. It reminds us that mass psychogenic events are not relics of a superstitious past. They are part of human nature, a mirror to our deepest fears and needs, especially in times of crisis. The dancing plague of 1518 endures as one of history's most unsettling mysteries. In the frantic steps of Frau Trophäa and the countless others who followed her, we glimpse the vulnerability of the human mind and body to forces both seen and unseen. As we face our own modern stresses, our own crises of uncertainty, it is worth remembering the line between normalcy and chaos is often thinner than we believe. The past dances through us still, in ways we cannot always predict. Some mysteries are never fully solved. They continue to move, just out of reach.